What this video is going to be about is installing tile in the half bathroom. When we first moved into the house, I noticed the ring around the toilet, the wax ring, had been leaking, so had to tear the floor out, repair all that. One thing I didn't know, and I've done tile in the past, and I had to research it a little bit more, is you need to put a thin set underneath the hardy backer board when you're laying that. I chose the thin hardy backer board versus the Durarock just because of the thickness of it, because of the height. I wanted it to, this tile when it was done, to match the floor a little bit better. So I'm going through showing you cutting the tile, renting a tile cutter, cutting around the toilet, all those things there, and hopefully it will help you as well. This will go all the way through the grout stage. I've got another video coming up talking about installing the toilet. So don't forget to subscribe, and when you subscribe, make sure you are alerted to when I put new videos up. I do a lot of things: weather, fishing, you name it, car maintenance as well. That's all on his channel. Thanks. With putting down the tile is you got to figure out which way it's going to go first, right? After you've already done all the other prep work. So I've got a combination here of two different tiles. It's the same tile, but I've got one that's 12 by 24 and one that is 12 by 12. And the reason I did that is so I could have a little bit less cutting. And I'm doing some pretty small areas, these two bathrooms that I'm going to do. In this video, I'm only going to show you one. So the first challenge here is these air conditioning vents. Of course, you're also perhaps going to have to use like a multi-tool and cut along some of the trim as well. I've got all the baseboards out because I've basically torn out this whole floor. So I got to figure out how I want to space these out. And what I think I'm going to do is take this tile here and basically make like an L this way and cut around it. And then I'll cut another piece to put on this. I like to try the most challenging cuts first. I like to dry fit everything. And that's what I'm doing here. I've got two bathrooms to do. I only want to rent this tool one time, and I'll talk about why I'm renting a tool instead of buying a tile cutter. Number one, I'm not a tile cutter. I'm just a meteorologist doing some daily chores or weekend chores around the house. But the thing is when you dry fit everything, you piece it all together kind of like a puzzle. You want to make sure you've got your spacing out. And now, when you're measuring these, you're going to use that speed square. That way, when you lay this on the floor, you're not always going to have it level, but that speed square, that's going to be level. I mean, it's at least going to be straight. And then when you start putting the pieces together, you'll be able to figure that out, level it out. Make sure you got your spacing in there, and don't forget you're going to need that other space between the tile, the other tile, that existing tile I have in the kitchen that's actually going to be torn out. That one day will be hardwood. Now, the reason I decided to go ahead and rent one of these tools is I've had one of these before. It wasn't as nice. So a lot of times what you get at the big box stores is not going to be meant to last, so to speak. The one I had metal. This one has a nice rubber top to it. And the other thing is I don't have a lot of space anymore as we moved into this new house. I don't have the space I had at my old house, and just putting things up, storing them and maintaining them, it's kind of a pain. So the key that I did is I picked it up at my local rental place, is I try, this may vary wherever you are, but I try to find a Saturday morning to pick up equipment. That way you keep it all weekend and bring it back on a Monday. So here's the tile. I've got it on this tile cutter. We'll get to the tile cutter in a second. But notice how I put the X here. That's what you want to cut, because sometimes when you get to cutting tile, you just kind of forget what side you're. All right, now the blade I'm using, they gave me this blade. Now some places either you'll get the blade with the rental or you won't. You're going to want to let them know what tile you're cutting. But again, this is a new blade here, and then there's a direction it's going to spin and rotate, and it's got the arrow here. Now there's nothing on this machine that tells me which way it's spinning, so what I'm going to do before I make my first cut is make sure I know that it's spinning that way. If it's spinning that way, I'm good. If not, I need to turn it around, but I think I'm in good shape here. Now the thing about it is you want to make sure it has water in here, and that all gets sucked up through here. And this one doesn't have a filter on it, but some of these have filters on it. But as I was mentioning, I really like the rubber part here because it grips. If you have one that's metal or aluminum, your tile is going to vibrate on it when you're cutting, and that's an issue because you're going to break a few pieces off. But this one's set up for 24-inch tile. Again, my tile is 24 inches long, so if I want to rip it this way, that's going to help me. Again, I just push it up against the saw. So that's going to help me do that. But that water comes in through these little jets here. And if you buy one of these are the first things to really fail. All right, about to make the first cut. Don't forget your safety glasses. Mine are kind of beat up, but they're going to protect your eyes. And when you least expect it, something's going to go into your eyes. Even if you're just changing your oil, sometimes I've learned wear these safety glasses. All right, well, it looks like it fits pretty good in here. Now this other piece, I'm going to cut this side off here to match the other side. And keep in mind, you're going to have some gaps here because this air conditioner vent is going here. So we should be okay back here with the next piece of tile that's going to come in. Just an example here. This next piece. So basically, with this saw here, I made almost like an octagon shape. I used that paint can to trace around it, and then I extended it out some because it was probably a 1/4 inch off. So I still don't know if this is going to fit perfectly, but I do know if I go in here and try to break this off, this whole corner, something's going to break. And over here, you're on a real thin margin here. Okay, so now I'm at the point. In my younger years, I would have rushed this to be done, but I need to go get a diamond blade grinder to finish this out, to make it look right. I mean, you're probably not going to see this because the toilet's going to cover it up, but I just did all that work, and I don't want to crack this tile and have to do all that again. Now, you may have noticed me cutting the back too, because sometimes when the blade, as the angle of it comes in, it doesn't go all the way through, so I basically turn it over and I can get a little bit more bite on it. And I really wanted to maximize what I could get done with this saw, so to save me time when I get the diamond blade. All right, this should go quickly, but it's going to produce some dust, and if it doesn't cut quick enough, I'm going to put some water on it. This was gonna bother me. This on the toilet. This little thin spot, every time I walked in that bathroom, because it's the first thing you see, I would have noticed that right away. And that would have bothered me. So, I did one with the center. So, we're gonna center around the toilet, work our way back to the wall, and all I had to do, all I lost on the tile was a 4-foot section of 1.5 inches. So, again, I took a break, had lunch, thought about it, walked back to the job. Sometimes you just need to take a break. And again, younger me would have been in a hurry, and then he would have regretted it. Okay, so now we've reached the point where we are ready to mix the mortar. I got this thin set mortar here, something to mix it with. I got this big drill here. The cordless drills, you're going to burn up a cordless drill. I say that because I've done that in the past. Sorry, I'm doing this on my trash can. It's my makeshift workbench. The thin set I'm using is this rapid setting tile mortar thin set. It's gray. You can do other searches on YouTube to figure out what you need, what works best for you. But on the bag, it's going to give you, of course, you're going to match the thin set with the trowel. And then, of course, you're going to also match your tile. I got 12 by 12s and 12 by 24s. If you're doing outdoor tile, I think I've done the 1/2-inch trowel before, but you're going to use a lot more thin set. So again, just read these bags, do some searches there. And the other thing is, got these little spacers here. These are what you put in between the tiles. And if you're doing like a shower or something like that, they've got really cool things that actually hold the tile in place. They're a bit pricey, but that's probably why I don't have them. But we're ready to start mixing. Need a bucket, some water. Just mix slowly. If you mix too much, don't worry, you can just let it dry out. I mean, if you thin it out too much, you can just let it dry out, kind of like pancake mix. It's about what you want right there. Okay, so I've already got my tile laid out. I actually put it out on the kitchen table, and then I'm just going to kind of go back and forth. I'm going to start in this corner and then work my way back. Once I let this set up like 3 minutes, it's ready to go. And I just basically put it on the floor here, and you want to cover every inch of it. And then sometimes you want to butter. They call it buttering the back. You put some of this on the back of these tiles as well. But I don't think I'm going to have to do much of that today. All right, everything's dried. We've reached my least favorite part of the tile job, and that is grout. I've never been good at grout, so I'm doing something a little different. I've actually put down some of the blue tape, and I even put some cardboard I'm trying to eliminate the amount of haze that's gonna be left on the tiles, because again, I'm not very good. This is kind of unorthodox. This normally isn't the way you see it done, but I'm trying to save time and water, because when you go to take this grout and you kind of sponge it off, it takes forever sometimes, at least for me. So you're going to need sponges, grout bag, which is what I've got. I usually use a grout bag. Gloves. Now these latex gloves here may not do the job, but we'll see. Because you really want to protect your hands, because this stuff will basically dry them out quickly. Not good on your hands either. I've gone with the driftwood color to go with my tile. So basically you just follow the directions, mix it up. Again, a little bit of water goes a long way. Well, I must say this worked out perfectly. The tape, the width, actually, I didn't know this, actually matched the width of this rubber trowel I used. And I use my hands most of the time to kind of squeeze it in with those gloves on, but you always want to make sure at least you have this trowel going across. Otherwise, you're going to get kind of a dip, a U-shape with your grout, and that will end up holding water. But overall, this turned out better than expected. And there you see the finished product there. I've got everything taken care of, and I was also informed by someone who does tile a lot, thanked me on Facebook, to use vinegar and water the next day, at least when it's dry, and that'll help eliminate some of the haze. And then, of course, in 48 hours, seal it.